Well, we're in the Marwitz Motors Homestead shop again. Got a 67 C10 Chevy. So just got the 250 inline 6. We're going to do a start up here quick on it. We're actually pulling out to swap into the Isuzu 4-cylinder diesel out of a Chevy LUV and a 5-speed. Main reason behind that is, yeah, we're not going to gain a whole lot of horsepower or anything like that. The torque rating is about the same as what we have with our engine now, but we're going to gain fuel mileage incredibly, so still be able to use it as a truck. So we'll do a quick fire up on this thing.
Twin turbos. What are you doing, Hunter? Oh, that's a Hunter.
Oh, do you want to start the truck up quick?
Start.
Well, it's pissing out whatever. Oh, just coolant. We don't need that shit.
This is the sin about pulling this engine out, is it's been rebuilt, so it starts really, really well. Sounds really nice too. We're going to replace that with diesel, and then follow that up with some turbos.
Turbos!
$20. This was the most bloodiest $20 bill I've ever gotten from an ATM ever. Like, you couldn't see part of his head because there was a big splotch of blood on it. It was gross. So I washed it.
That's was gravy, but
creepy as shit.
I'm pretty sure it was.
It was pretty fucking creepy. I got it out of the machine. I looked at it. I'm like, oh. Well, that's a drug deal gone wrong. That's gross.
Where are we gonna put this hood? Should we just put it outside?
Yeah.
Outside.
Whenever you remove a hood, if it's the first time it comes off the vehicle, it's a good idea to take like an 1/8 inch drill bit. Don't go too small, because then the drill bit gets weak, and anything over an 1/8 inch, you start getting into putting too big of a hole in the hinge. You can't really see in the camera. Turn some light here. There's a little hole here, and that's it.
And that's
sometimes we put 2. There's one on each side.
There's 2 over here that you can see.
And then what you do is when you go to tip, before you loosen these bolts at all, you drill those holes. And then when you go to put the hood back on, you can take your 1/8 inch drill bit, stick it up in there, and it works like a line-up dowel. And then it automatically lines up to the same spot it was when you took it off.
Ingenious.
Close enough that it'll get you, you won't close it and it'll wreck a fender or something like that. No, tip the bottom out towards the truck, I mean. There you go. Now pull it straight out.
Yep, you're good.
Tip it up, tip it up, tip it up, tip it up. So keep that stuff in there and I'll pull this out. It's a little loose.
Nice and clean.
What a lot of people won't do either, when they swap from a diesel to a gas, they won't realize that you can use regular green coolant or the extended life coolant in a diesel engine. What you need is there's a special additive that comes in a little bottle that you have to mix in with the coolant because it's a diesel engine. It has to do with pressures in the cooling system, and during an ignition event, the sidewall of the cylinder actually bow out and cause the molecule of coolant to implode, and when it implodes, it'll actually eat away at the cylinder liner to the point where I've had it where there's holes into the piston because it's eating away so much that the coolant will leak into your cylinder then. So you have to add that additive. If you don't, it'll just end up wrecking your engine over the long term. Something to remember.
The more you know.
See Ashley's coolant reservoir? Or I mean, windshield washer reservoir.
That's awesome.
Doing.
Tiny little exhaust pipe.
This engine is actually out of a 66 Chevelle, 4-door Chevelle. The guy was using it as a daily driver till he sold the car for parts. And we bought it from the guy who bought the car because he had no use for the engine. He just needed some of the parts off the car. So instead of letting it go to waste, I think we paid $110 for the engine and transmission. So
Jesus.
Runs, drives. It's got like 40,000 miles on the rebuild. I mean, you heard it wrong. That's all I need to say. So on old gas engines, you had your distributor and your coil. This is power from the key switch, so when you turn it to the on position, it supplies power to your coil, which supplies power to your distributor, and the distributor tells which spark plug to fire when. So on a gas engine, when you shut the key off, it shuts power off to your coil, or in modern gas engines with the coil on packed setup or whatever, it shuts off the computer that tells each coil to fire. On a diesel engine, obviously you don't have spark plugs. What we do have on her engine is a fuel shutoff solenoid. Some of the older diesel engines actually had a manual cable you had to pull to shut the fuel off. So we're just going to hook this power wire up to the fuel shutoff solenoid on the fuel pump. So when it gets power, it'll let fuel go through to the fuel pump and the engine will run. And then when you want to shut it off, you just turn the key off, you'll kill the fuel pump, and then your engine will die. And then this wire here for gas engines, you can plug it in, and this is a tack wire, but on diesel engines, obviously you don't have an electronic signal for a tack. So we're going to have to get a signal generator of some sort and then find out how we can make that work with the tack. Because I've never had to do that.
The internet will know.
Go from the gas to diesel. I don't know. Fishing for what?
The things you dropped.
I didn't drop them.
See, is it this all that was in there?
Should be
No, there's probably another one, yeah. Okay. You working on in here? Fuel line?
Taking out the sending unit. It's called a sending unit because it sends the fuel level via a ground wire. It has a variable resistor attached to a little float like what's in your toilet. More fuel, float comes up, changes the resistance, changes the amount of voltage allowed to go to ground, and that affects your gauge. So you can't just throw any old tank in any old car and expect your gauge to work, because you need to know what resistance range it needs to work in. And if it goes like full is less resistance and empty is more resistance, or the other way around, because if you hook it up with an opposite style, it'll say full when you're actually empty and empty when you're actually full. So just
a little disconcerting, that's all.
Lessons learned the hard way.
But half tank is always half tank.
Pretty much. Now this is going to be kind of a pain in the ass because
Gas.
we put a custom filter on the end.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Because we were sick of fucking the stupid sock type filters that you can buy. So we just used a 1-inch cylinder, wrapped some 1/2-inch by 1/2-inch chicken wire around it for our frame, and then used window net, or like window mesh for storm windows or whatever, and then used some really fine wire and just stitched it all together and got it tied on the front and on the back side of our tube. Or we got like a little hole drilled in there where the wire sneaks through, so it can't slide up the tube and it won't slide down the tube, giving us plenty of room to filter fuel. Keeps a lot of the big chunks of stuff, but you can actually see some of it hanging in there, kind of gross, out of our primary fuel filters, so that we don't have to change it as much. So this is down in your tank, more gas, less gas. That's just an air-filled brass ball. Some of them are styrofoam or plastic or whatever, but
Ballast, if you will.
that's how that works. Now we can siphon gasoline.
Yay!
Hey, did you know this thing has VTEC?
What? A VTEC, yo? The VTEC just kicked in.
Yeah, and if you smash that little thing on the back of the turbo with a hammer,
Ah,
it
fuck
gets
off.
more boost.
Crushed blow-off valve. It's a crushed blow-off valve. People use them.
Retarded people use them.
No, people on a budget.
There's a reason they make aftermarket parts.
People on a budget
So you
use
do
it.
it right.
Yep.
Oh my god,
That's
it just pops right out.
See? I figured it
See,
out.
who the fuck does that? Who thought that was a good idea?
So, yeah, exactly. Well, now we gotta do some figuring and jumping and jiving. We already figured by trial and error the output shafts for the transmissions are completely different, so that means we have to hack up the drive shaft and weld some pieces together. We're gonna have to pull the shift tower off of it so we can slide it into the truck. We're gonna have to take some measurements off our old engine, off of what the truck says, and figure out a front engine mount system, and then luckily we got a cross member somewhere
Back of the truck.
that we can put in to put the transmission on. Because if you look in here, the way this mounted before is the engine mounted solid. So you had the front engine mounts and the rear engine mounts, and the transmission just hung off the back of the truck then. Where most vehicles, you have the front engine mounts and a cross member that goes under the transmission. So that's what we're going to switch to. So we got some math and shit to do.
Fuck math.
So. Then we got to start running wires and plumbing and get a drive shaft made. And a little bit of work to do.
Yeah.
Okay, we're here in the Marvel shop again, day 2. I woke up a little late, so Ashley decided to start ripping her bed out. You can see the special muffler bearing they installed. Kind of an inside joke. Right now we got, if you come full along, that is what our engine mounts inside the truck look like, and our cross member height and all that sort of stuff. So use that, and then we slid that under the new engine to figure out where our bolt holes would have to be. Right now they're digging through to find shims, because we found out we have to shim one side while the other side stays straight. There's water dripping through the ceiling.
There's water dripping through the ceiling.
Bad.
Uh-oh.
Your ceiling's leaking.
What the fuck?
Right in this general vicinity.
Should we move
You
our
can use that.
stuff so it doesn't get wet?
You can use that for shim or for shim.
We use this electric pump to pump all the gasoline out of the tank, and then we dump a little bit of diesel in there, like a gallon and a half of diesel in there, because you can't, obviously this pump isn't going to suck up every last drop of gas. So we diluted the little bit of gas that was left, you know, maybe a quart of gasoline left with the 2 gallons of diesel, pump that out, and we'll use that for starting fires, bonfires, and shit like that. And then fill it up with diesel again. In theory, we should have enough of the gasoline out now that it's going to be a negligible amount. It shouldn't hurt the fuel system now when we start the trucks. However, our cross member will fit.
Hey,
We pulled the shift
you
tower
can
off.
it over here too.
Oh shit.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, it is. Anyhow, we pulled the shift tower off, so when we slide it down in the truck, we can get it to
Don't have to worry about breaking shit.
right. And if you notice, like this little tang on here, there's 3 shift rods that hook up to shift forks in here, and they slide back and forth, and that's all it does, versus the linkage like you saw in the other transmission, where it physically moves a rod on the outside. All the rods are in the inside of the transmission now, and this, when you shift, just moves each of these back and forth, and it goes side to side. So.
Yes.
Is this already like built to have a pulley system?
Yes.
With these steel beams?
Yes, that's why I put the steel beams up there.
Steel beams.
Now we're getting ready. We got our holes marked on the old motor mounts, which if you see on this diesel, to pull this old rubber mount off, there are nuts on the backside, so you had to actually pull all the injector lines and pull 2 of these delivery valves to get a wrench down in there enough to get the nut broke loose to get the motor mount off, because that's how much space they give you. Luckily, our new hole is going to be farther down, so we'll be able to get in through the backside with a long ratchet or an extension and get it that way.
So it won't be a giant pain in the ass.
Not as much.
Hey, look!
Water.
The roof is flooded. Maybe it's from that stuff that started on fire that one time?
No. Oh, I gotta pee. What's wrong with the tractor keys? You gotta figure out where we have chains on this thing.
Chains.
Here, hold on. Let me.
Yeah, there we go.
Dad broke a nail.
Wait, no, right here. Oh, it's not very long.
I got one. I
Oh
got
shit!
one.
Oh shit! Oh shit! I'm gonna lose them.
No, no! Oh, they flew away!
No.
Damn it!
No.
That's the second time we lost a fly we were trying to
Oh
rope.
yeah, I was trying to pull a hair out of your head.
Not that far. Not that far.
That is a truck.
seal.
It looks tiny.
In there.
Like you're missing two
Not a big deal.
cylinders or something.
No, what you're missing is
Two turbos.
Turbo dos.
Yeah.
There you are.
Sure shit, huh?
Yeah.
Look at that little guy. Cute little fucker.
It's cute. I don't want cute. I want big and scary. Rawr!
That's where the
It will
turbos
be
come in.
eventually.
All right.
So, we got it in the truck. Our fuel system's hooked up. It looks a little janky, I know. We thought we might need a lift pump. Turns out we won't. So this will all come out. This fuel water separator will get mounted to the fender well here, and we'll just have the hose come out of our inlet will be here, outlet here. We'll keep the steel routing like we have it, just for simplicity's sake. The only thing we have to do is finish plumbing the coolant system. Our drive shaft is being made, and then we got to figure out throttle and clutch linkage. But we had smoke coming out the exhaust, so it's trying to fire. We're just, this battery's, it's kind of a piece of shit, and it might not have been fully charged when we started, so keep trying.
So do you still feel like that pump is too much, or did you not feel
I
it?
didn't even do the pump that time.
I was gonna take a shower.
So because we don't have everything totally hooked up yet, I am being the manual activator here of the fuel shutoff solenoid. It's electric, but hold on a second, babe.
Yeah.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
I'm just a little bit scared.
You should be.
Good. That is kind of awesome.
Right?
Now imagine that with a little bit of turbo line and you're good.
Right?
Yep.
That's right, bitches. So, we're a little behind schedule. We thought we'd have a little more hooked up today, but gotta finish hooking up the cooling system, heater core, and to the radiator, and finish hooking up the exhaust. Like I said, we're gonna eliminate that fuel pump and a little bit more to clean up and finish up, but it fucking runs.
Yay!
No. You don't have to right now.
Well, because it ran out of that heater core line.
Well, yeah. We're not going to run it right now, though.
Okay.
We got to wait till we get the heater core on and then
Well, that's what I was going to say. We have to do that first.
plug it back up.
Seriously.
So, we got all our adapters in. It looks a little janky, I know, but it's going to get coolant where it needs to get it. We got it filled up now. We left the coolant, or the heater core lines off. If nothing else, I would have cracked one of these or something, help bleed air out of the system while we're filling it up. So now we know we got coolant at least up to this point, up to the thermostat housing. So the block is full, radiator's full. Get our heater core put back in, and then we can finish filling it up the rest of the way. One thing you want to make sure you add to any coolant system for a diesel engine. This is just a Napa version. It's a coolant additive for diesel engines. Keeps your block healthy and your coolant healthy for the life cycle of the diesel. It's a little bit different than a gasoline engine. So. No luck? You don't just want to solder it?
Hmm?
Don't just want to solder it?
I don't